Hi everybody, I'm Mary and we're here today to talk about or to make a watercolor rainbow. Rainbows are very popular with kids. They like to paint them and draw them and color them and so forth. Excuse me. So today you're going to need a piece of paper, not printing paper. This is just a sketch pad paper. And what I really recommend using is more of a watercolor paper, such as this one, which is a 140 pound. That just kind of determines the thickness of it. And the sketch pad paper I'm using just because I know that's what most of you would have at home. So we need that, some water, watercolor brush, of course your watercolors. These are my Prang, which I love, and it happens to be the professional version. It has more colors than the single, but that's fine, you could use the single. I also have crayons and markers. That's kind of an option at the end. It's always good to have either a tissue or a paper towel handy when you're doing watercolors. Okay, so what we're going to start with is I'm just going to draw with a pencil a rainbow shape. So I'm just going to start here and just kind of go halfway like this. I'm going to flip my paper so that I can finish a pretty good arch. There. It's not perfect, not perfectly symmetrical, which means the same on each side, but that's okay. And then down below my rainbow, I'm going to actually make a smaller arch for the inside of the rainbow, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. Trying to make it the same width, not quite symmetrical at all there. So I'm going to correct that just a little bit. Erase this one. Okay. Yeah, it's good enough. All right, and then we're going to draw some type of a ground, a horizon across here. And I am not going to make it perfectly flat because I want to pretend that we've got some hills in the background. There we go. So, kind of our basic drawing. I'm going to correct this so I have a little bit the same as the other side. I said, art doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be fun. So, hopefully you're all doing well and staying healthy and enjoying the change in the weather. Where I am, we've had quite a bit of rain the last couple days, so I haven't been outside much, but it's part of spring. Okay, so I've got my basic shape done. Now the first thing that I want to put in my shape is the sky in the background, okay? Now for watercolors, if your paper is, you get the paper wet first, just with a little bit of water, and then you add the color in, that color is going to spread wherever you put the water, and it's not going to spread where the paper is dry. So that's kind of why I drew it first. Also, since we're doing a rainbow, hopefully you know, if you think of the words Roy G. Biv, R-O-Y-G B-I-V, you'll know the order of the colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Okay, so all of these colors, I'm going to just put a drop of water in. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and for indigo, I happen to have a blue violet, which is kind of what indigo is. If you don't have that, you can, on your lid, just put a little bit of water, and then you can mix your blue and violet and make an indigo there. Okay? All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the sky. So I am going to just get that part of the paper a little bit wet. Now as you're working on the sketch pad paper, it will buckle or wrinkle some. And some of those wrinkles will come out if you press it after it's more dry, you press it with a bunch of books or something. If you do the watercolor paper, I usually will tape the edges down onto a board or onto the pad itself, and then it won't wrinkle like this. But this is just a quick demonstration on how to paint a rainbow, and you use whatever paper you have. Okay? All right. So I've gotten that part of the sky wet. Now I'm going to do a little blue wash here. A wash is a watered down watercolor pigment. Pigment is the substance that gives it the color. And then wherever I paint this, and sometimes if you put it on a board, when you're doing a wash, it's easier. So let me try it like this. So I'm going to paint, and this blue will spread nicely just where I have the water here. Now in skies, usually the darker part is at the top. So what you can do is, if you want it to get lighter as you go down, you just take what you already have and add water. And it will get lighter and lighter. I'm going to do a little lesson on just some basic watercolor techniques, so this will be in there. So I have that so far. Add a little more color on this side. There we go. You see, it's not going into my area of the rainbow because that part's not wet. Okay, it's just spreading where I put the water. Just a little more color in here. Now, if you want, I'm going to go ahead and finish because I need to do this part that's also sky. I'm going to make it pretty light because it's near the horizon or the level of the ground. Okay. Carefully. If I get a little bit in my rainbow area, that's okay, but we'll cover that up. Neat thing about watercolors is you never quite know what to expect. Sometimes the colors run into each other when you don't want them to, and sometimes they don't when you do want them to. All right. So I made this a little too dark by the ground. You can do this, and then I'm going to take a tissue and just blot a little of this up. Okay, now some reason my paper has some lines down there, probably from something I drew on the page that was next to it. All right, so now, if I want, because rainbows usually come out during a storm, I'm going to take maybe just a little bit of black and dot it here and there, just to kind of make it look like there might have been some storm clouds in the area. And you don't want it too dark. And we'll put a little one over here. And that got a little bit dark, so rather than add more water, which you could do with other paper, I'm going to blot a little. All right, so this is what I have so far. Now, I'm going to pause the video because I have to let this dry before we can do the next step. Okay, so you can put a hairdryer on it, blow it, or just let it dry naturally. Be right back. All right, so this is dry enough now that I think I can go ahead and do my rainbow next. So I'm going to get just the rainbow wet now with my brush. And not the ground yet. So one thing cool about watercolors is if you get the paper wet first, you can blend all kinds of pretty colors together. And if you ever looked at a real rainbow, you know that you kind of see each individual color, but they sort of blend. The edges are very soft because really it's what a rainbow is made of is the light reflection in water vapor, which is why you see them after a storm or after a rain when the sun comes out and it's shining on those little prisms. Okay, so this is pretty wet. So I'm going to start with think I'm going to start with my indigo. Remember, you could mix blue and violet. I'm going to use my actual blue violet. And just down at the bottom, because it's at the bottom, let's get a little more color. Just going to make a little band. Now we have 7 colors, so you want to kind of divide them evenly. I don't know if you can see how it's kind of making a nice soft edge. That's what makes watercolors different from things like markers or oil paints. Now you could use a water marker, like most of the markers are water-based that kids use, and get the paper wet, and you'll still get some of this blending effect. Okay, so that was the V in Roy G. Biv, because I'm going, oh, that isn't, I made a mistake. I did indigo first, so I can fix that easily by doing my violet underneath, even though I already did the sky. Now, this sky part is dry, so where it's wet by the indigo, it will blend a little bit, but it's not going to go into my sky, which is good. So this is the V, which is violet. There we go. Okay. And I kind of want it to blend a little bit in with the indigo. All right, my indigo is a little bit light, so I'm going to go over that one more time. Most of your brushes that come with the watercolors are about this big. It's called a round brush, and they're good for lots of things because you can get enough paint on the paper at a time, but it also comes down to a very small point, so you can do things that just you want to do a thin line on. All right, so Roy G. Biv. So we have the V and the I. We're going backwards. Biv. So that would be my blue. So blue is next. I love how this indigo is running. You almost can't tell the difference between the indigo and the violet, but that's okay because rainbows are kind of like that. There we go. My paper's getting a little bit dry, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to rinse my water. Okay, I'm going to just get it a little bit wet. Now this sketch pad paper, it will shred easily if you use too much water, so you kind of have to be careful not to use too much. Okay, just add a little bit more here. All right, Biv, Roy G. G is for green, so green is next. Oh, I love that color. It's really brilliant. Let's do some more here. Remember, before you start, put just a drop of water in each color you're going to use, because it softens the. These are called cake watercolors. Not, of course, delicious, but all right. Roy G. Roy. Yellow is next. The yellow is a little bit dirty because I got some other color in it, so just cleaning it a little. All right. So now we have yellow. So where it blends with the green, it's going to kind of make a yellow green, isn't it? There we go. You notice I turn my paper sometimes. That just allows me to get a better curve. And I'm a left-handed person, so at least for painting and drawing. So if you are a right-handed, you may be doing everything the opposite. All right, Roy, oi, orange. I'm going to do a little more yellow because we have only 2 colors left in a wide space. There we go. Orange is next. Yeah, pretty, pretty, pretty. Okay. Go halfway this way. You can see the paper's starting to buckle a little or bubble up, but said we'll flatten that later somewhat. It'll still be worthy of hanging on your refrigerator or your bedroom wall or wherever you like to hang your artwork. And I do hope you hang it up because it makes a room so much more cheery when you have your own artwork hanging there. All right, we have just one color left, and that's the R in Roy, which would be red. There we go. Now take that up to my pencil line, and if I go over a little, that's okay. Then the pencil line doesn't show so much. And normally I'd probably use a little lighter pencil, but I wanted you to be able to see it. Pencils come in different hardness, okay? The softer the lead, well, it's not really lead, it's graphite, but the softer it is, the darker you can draw without pushing down very hard. And the harder the lead is, the lighter the line will be, the lines. There we go. Okay. So, there's my beautiful rainbow. And I'm again going to pause and let that dry, and then we'll do the ground. All right? Be back. All right, so my rainbow is fairly dry. Now I'm ready to paint the ground down here. Again, I'm going to get it wet first because I want to blend maybe some browns and greens down there for the ground. And as you can, maybe you can see, there's still a little leftover color in this water because I didn't change it. But I kind of like that because then I can see where I've got the water on my paper. Let's see. Something I was going to mention about watercolors, see if I can remember. Oh, I know. I'll mention it later. Okay, almost done here. Remember, you don't want to go over it too many times because this is just sketch pad paper and it will shred. And then that ruins your whole picture. Okay, so I'm going to take, I forgot to put some color in my brown, so I'll start with the green, some water, sorry. So I'm going to just do some green streaks through here. You can see it kind of runs. Okay. Now I'm going to add some brown. So I'm not really going to get into too much detail in the ground here. I just kind of want it to have the rainbow have a place to land. See how it's kind of blending nicely with the green. If you use the side of your brush, you won't get lines as much. You'll get more of a smear, which is good. Keep your brush going in the same direction whenever possible. And that's true when you're coloring with markers too. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I might add just a little darker brown in some spots. Make it kind of interesting. Now, watercolor always dries lighter than when it's wet. So you might notice that when yours is dry, that it's not quite as brilliant or dark as it was when it was wet. Okay? So, I'm gonna let that dry, and I'll show you some other things we can do with this. I'm going to leave it down here because I actually have one I did before that's completely dry. That looks like this. Okay. Now this one I'm not as happy with my rainbow, but that's okay. You can leave it like this and sign your name. You should sign your name on all your artwork, and you can even put in the tiny underneath your name the year. Like you might just put a 20 because this is 2020. So I'm going to do that right at the bottom. You can see. And I could be done with this, but just to show you some other things that you can do. You can either use markers, or if you've seen in my previous videos, you know I like crayons. I might just add a little bit of color. Let's see. This is blue. I'm going to just kind of outline this blue here. Remove this. Just because this particular rainbow, the blue didn't really show up well. It really blended a little too much. And I really love the look of crayon on top of watercolor. And I can see my blue better. And I could do that with all my colors if I wanted, but this is just a demonstration to show you the different things that you can do. I think I'll dump my crayons out here so I can find the color I'm looking for. I'm looking for black, which is always the hardest one to find. I thought that was black. It says asparagus. Fun to name the colors, huh? Let's see. Okay. A little piece of a black, but I was hoping to find, there we go. All right. So you can, if you want, you can outline your rainbow. I need to do it on a cardboard. My mat I use underneath here has got all kinds of cuts in it from doing other things. There we go. And then you could do each individual color if you want. Then in my ground, I'm just going to maybe add little rocks. It could be brown, gray, black, or a mixture, which is what I like to mix them up. Add a little black in there. Okay, you can also, you don't have to, you know, when you see grass from far away, you don't see individual blades of grass. You just kind of see green. But if you want your viewer, whoever's looking at your artwork, to know that that's grass and be sure, you can always just add what we call sprigs, a little bit of grass here and there. Or maybe this is a field that only has little pieces or clumps of grass. Like that. Okay? So you can add whatever you want. This would not be finished for me because I would want to add a little bit more detail, but that's up to you. Like I said, you don't even need to add the details. It's a beautiful rainbow anyway. All right? So for today, have a great day. Make it a great day. Art isn't perfect. Sign all your artwork, and I'll see you next time. Bye.